"I'm quitting my job. You'll take care of us while I figure things out," my sister texted. I answered, "That's not on me," and signed a contract for a job abroad starting Monday. 10 minutes later, Mom wrote, "I, 29M, am a forensic accountant and cybersecurity consultant. That sounds pretty fancy, but mostly it means I trace where money went when people try to hide it, and I secure systems so it doesn't happen again. I've spent my entire 20s grinding, living well below my means, and banking everything to escape the gravitational pull of my family. My family dynamic is complicated. Actually, no, it's simple. I am the wallet, they're the hands reaching into it. My sister, 32F, is the free spirit. In our household, that meant she was allowed to quit things. She quit college, quit 3 trade schools, and has quit more jobs than I can count. My mother, 58F, is the architect of this dysfunction. She believes sister is delicate and the world is too harsh for her, whereas I am resilient and therefore obligated to carry the load. For years, I played the game. I paid for sister's car repairs. I covered mom's unexpected medical bills that turned out to be cosmetic procedures. I kept the peace because I loved my 2 nephews, 5M and 7M, who are innocent in all this. But 6 months ago, I hit a wall. I realized I was setting myself on fire to keep them warm. I began quietly interviewing for positions abroad. I wanted physical distance, an ocean preferably. 2 weeks ago, I landed an interview with a major firm in Zurich. The pay is astronomical, the relocation package is gold-plated, and the work is exactly what I love. Then came the Tuesday from hell. I was sitting in a coffee shop, staring at the digital contract on my laptop screen. It was the Zurich offer. They wanted me to start the onboarding process the following Monday. I was hovering the cursor over sign when my phone buzzed. It was a text from sister. "I'm quitting my job today. My boss is a toxic narcissist and I can't take the mental abuse anymore. I told him to shove it. You'll take care of us while I figure things out. I need about $3,000 a month for rent and groceries until I find my passion. Love you." She didn't ask, she informed. I stared at the phone. My blood didn't boil, it froze. It was the assumption, the absolute unwavering entitlement that broke the last chain holding me there. She wasn't asking for help, she was assigning me a bill. I typed back, "That's not on me. You quit without a backup plan. I'm not funding this." Then I looked at my laptop. I clicked sign. I uploaded the document. I was moving to Switzerland. 10 minutes later, my phone blew up. It was Mom. "How dare you? She is your sister. She has children. You make more money than you know what to do with. You are selfish, cold, and greedy. You will step up or you are no son of mine. She is coming over to your place to calm down. Fix this." I didn't reply. I simply initiated the execute phase of my exit plan. I had already sold most of my furniture. My townhouse, which I own, was already under contract to be sold to an investment firm for cash, with the closing scheduled Monday morning, hours before my flight. I had 96 hours to get on a plane. I went back to my townhouse to pack the final boxes. When I pulled into the driveway, I saw sister's beat-up SUV parked sideways, blocking my garage. I walked in the front door, which was unlocked because Mom had a spare key for emergencies that I had foolishly never revoked. They were in my living room. Sister was on my sofa, sobbing dramatically. Mom was pacing. My nephews were playing on their iPads in the corner, oblivious. "Finally," Mom snapped, not even looking at me. "She's a wreck. You need to transfer her the first month's expenses today so she doesn't get a late fee. And she needs your car. Yours is newer and she doesn't feel safe driving the kids in hers." I put my keys in my pocket and stayed by the door. "Get out." The silence was deafening. Sister stopped crying instantly. Mom looked like I had slapped her. "Excuse me?" Mom whispered. "Get out of my house. Both of you. Take the kids and leave. I am not giving you money, I am not giving you my car, and I am certainly not funding a sabbatical for someone who quits a job with 0 savings." "You don't have a choice," Sister screamed, standing up. "We're family. You have all this money sitting in stocks and whatever. I've seen your mail. You owe me. Mom, tell him." "I don't owe you a dime," I said, my voice dangerously calm. "And here's the news. I quit my job too." This wasn't technically a lie. I had resigned from my US job an hour ago to accept the Zurich one. Mom's face went white. "What? You can't. You're the stability. I'm unemployed as of today, so I can't help you. Now leave." That's when the dynamic shifted. Mom's eyes narrowed. She didn't buy it. She knows I'm calculated. She knows I don't jump without a parachute. You're lying, Mom spat. You're hiding money. You're trying to hoard it all while your sister starves. We're not leaving. In fact, sister is going to stay here for a few days until she feels better. You can sleep on the couch. I sold the house. I dropped the next bomb. Closing is Monday. You can't stay here because I won't own it in 3 days. Sister looked panic-stricken. But I told my landlord I was moving out. I thought I could move in with you to save money. I already gave my notice. My jaw dropped. You gave notice on your apartment before you even asked me? I knew you'd say yes. You always say yes, she shrieked. Not this time. I walked past them into my home office and locked the door. I needed to secure my physical documents, my passport, my birth certificate, and the 2 external hard drives that were in my safe. I opened the floor safe hidden in the closet. It was a biometric safe, but it had a physical override key. I usually kept that key in a hollowed-out book on a high shelf, a spot I thought was clever. It was empty. The safe was empty. My stomach dropped. I spun around and ripped the door open. I stormed back into the living room. Where is it? I demanded. Where is what? Mom feigned ignorance, examining her fingernails. My passport, my birth certificate, and the 2 external hard drives that were in my safe. I know you took them. You found the override key. Mom smiled, a cold, thin expression. I'm just holding on to them for safekeeping. You're acting erratic. Clearly, you're having a mental breakdown. You can't be trusted with important documents right now. Once you agree to a payment plan for your sister, let's say $4,000 a month, and you sign over the title to your car, I'll give them back. This was extortion, plain and simple. But they made a critical error. They forgot what I do for a living. I don't just count money, I investigate fraud. Give them back or I call the police, I said. Go ahead, Sister sneered. Tell them your mommy took your toys. They won't care. It's a civil matter. She was wrong. Stealing a passport is a federal crime. But I needed leverage before I went nuclear. I needed to know why they were this desperate. $4,000 a month is a lot, even for Sister. And why did she need to move in now? I retreated to the bathroom, locked the door, and pulled out my phone. I logged into my credit monitoring service. I have alerts set up, but I hadn't checked the detailed report in a month because I'd been busy with the interviews. My heart hammered against my ribs as the page loaded. There it was, a secured personal loan for $45,000 taken out 3 months ago, and 3 credit cards, all maxed out, totaling another $30,000, all in my name. The addresses on the accounts? Sister's apartment. The realization hit me like a physical blow. They hadn't just come for rent money. They had committed massive identity theft. Sister didn't quit her job just because she was stressed. She probably quit or was fired because the financial pressure was imploding. They needed me to stay and support them so they could use my income to service the debt they took out in my name, hoping I'd never notice the principal amounts if they kept making minimum payments. If I left the country, the payments would stop, the defaults would hit, and I would be notified. They were trapping me here to cover up their crime. And here's the kicker. My new job in Zurich requires a high-level security clearance. It's in banking security. A background check is mandatory, and it is rigorous. If these debts showed up as defaulted, or if I had massive unexplained liabilities, I would lose the job instantly. They had effectively sabotaged my future to fund their lifestyle. I felt a cold clarity wash over me. The sadness was gone. The guilt was gone. All that was left was the calculation. I turned on the voice recorder app on my phone. I put it in my shirt pocket. I walked back out. Okay, I said, forcing my shoulders to slump. You win. I can't leave without my passport. I'll sign whatever you want. Just tell me why you need so much. $4,000 is more than you ever asked for. Mom's shoulders relaxed. She thought she had won. Inflation, honey, and your sister made some investments that didn't pan out. Investments? I asked. Or debt? Did you guys open accounts in my name? Sister froze. Mom shot her a warning look, but Sister is terrible under pressure. It was just to bridge the gap, Sister blurted out. We were going to pay it back before you found out. It's only like $70,000. You make that in a few months. We used your old Social Security card details Mom had. We helped you get where you are, so it's basically family money anyway. So you admit you used my identity to take out $75,000 in loans and credit cards without my permission? I asked clearly. Don't use that tone, Mom snapped. We did what was necessary for the family. You were being stingy. Now, write a check for the first installment and sign this paper saying you authorized the use of those cards so the bank doesn't freeze them again. I had the confession, I had the motive, and I had the admission of the passport theft. I need the passport first, I said, to verify my identity for the check. Mom rolled her eyes. She reached into her oversized purse and pulled out my passport and the hard drives. She set them on the coffee table but kept her hand on them. Check first. I lunged. I'm not a fighter, but I was fueled by pure adrenaline. I grabbed the passport and the drives. Mom shrieked and clawed at my arm, drawing blood. Sister jumped up and tried to block the hallway. You aren't leaving, Sister screamed. I will tell everyone you hit Mom. I'll call the police and say you're an abuser. Do it, I said, backing away, holding my passport tight. Call them. I didn't wait. I dialed 911 on my phone, putting it on speaker. 911, what is your emergency? I need police at blank immediately. I have intruders in my home refusing to leave. They have physically assaulted me and they have confessed to federal identity theft and passport theft. I am the homeowner. Mom's face went from angry to terrified. She lunged for the phone, but I sidestepped. He's lying, she screamed at the phone. I have it all recorded, I said loudly, for their benefit and the operators. I have your confession on tape. The wait for the police was the longest 10 minutes of my life. Mom switched tactics to weeping, begging me not to ruin the family. Sister just sat there, looking catatonic. When the officers arrived, the scene was chaotic. Mom tried to pull the concerned mother act, claiming I was having a psychotic break. Officers, I said calmly, holding up my bleeding arm, I want them removed for trespassing. I also want to file an immediate report for identity theft and assault. Here is my passport they attempted to withhold to extort money, and I have an audio recording of them admitting to opening $75,000 in loans and credit cards without my permission. I played the audio. The part where Sister said, we used your old Social Security card details Mom had. We helped you get where you are, so it's basically family money anyway. The older officer looked at Mom. Ma'am, did you open credit lines in his name? I gave him life, Mom screamed. I'm entitled to his help. It's not stealing if it's family. He owes us. That's a yes, the officer muttered. They were escorted out. I insisted on pressing charges. I knew that if I didn't have a police report number that day, my background check for the Zurich job would flag the debt as mine and I'd lose the offer. I had to nuke their lives to save my own. I spent the next 48 hours in a whirlwind of legal chaos. I froze my credit, I filed affidavits with the FTC, I handed the police report to the banks, I retained a lawyer to handle the eviction of their belongings, Sister left bags, and to ensure the prosecution went forward. But the dirty tricks weren't over. They knew I had a flight on Monday and they were desperate to keep me in the country to force me to drop the charges. Sunday morning, 24 hours before my flight, I got a knock on the door. It wasn't the police, it was Child Protective Services, accompanied by a police escort, different officers from Friday. An anonymous tipster, clearly Mom, had claimed I was manufacturing drugs in the house and that I had threatened to harm my nephews. Because the nephews had been present during the shouting match on Friday, CPS had to investigate. My heart stopped. If I was detained or if an investigation was opened against me, my security clearance for the new job would be toast. I let them in immediately. I was calm. I showed the CPS worker the police report from Friday regarding the identity theft and assault. This is retaliation, I told her. My mother and sister are facing felony fraud charges. They are trying to stop me from leaving the country. The worker looked around my house. It was empty, just packed boxes. No drug labs, no kids. She took notes, looked at my bleeding arm, still bandaged, and apologized. She saw through it right away. We have to follow up on every call, she said gently, but it's clear this is malicious. I'll close the file as unfounded immediately. That was the moment I decided I wasn't just going to defend myself. I was going to destroy them, legally, thoroughly. Remember I said I'm a forensic accountant. Sunday night, sleepless, I dug deeper into the investments Sister mentioned on the recording. I traced the spending on the fraudulent credit cards. It wasn't for rent, it wasn't for groceries, it was for online gambling and a success coaching program, a high-ticket pyramid scheme she'd bought into. She'd spent $15,000 on courses to become a manifestation coach. But worse, I found transfers from Mom's account to Sister's account and then to the casinos. Mom wasn't just an enabler, she was a participant. They'd blown through Dad's small life insurance policy years ago, and now they were blowing through my credit. I compiled it all, every statement, every IP address login. I mapped out the flow of funds. I didn't just leave it for the local police. I sent the packet to the fraud departments of the banks involved. Banks don't care about family dynamics. They care about their money. They would go after Mom and Sister with the full weight of their legal teams. I also sent a copy to the IRS whistleblower tip line because it looked like they hadn't reported any of the winnings, however small, from the gambling, but had certainly claimed losses. Monday morning, I stood at the airport gate. My phone was blowing up with texts from extended family, aunts, cousins, calling me a monster. Mom had spun a narrative that I was abandoning them destitute, that I had beaten her, that I was on drugs. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I sent one final mass email to the entire family. I attached the police report, the transcript of the recording where they admitted the theft, the photos of my injuries, and the screenshots of the gambling debt and pyramid scheme payments. Subject line: the truth about why I'm leaving. Body: I am not abandoning them. I am escaping a crime scene. They stole my identity, racked up $75,000 in debt, and tried to blackmail me. I have pressed charges. Do not contact me unless you want to pay their legal fees. I blocked everyone. I got on the plane. The aftermath. I am writing this from my apartment in Zurich. The view of the Alps is incredible. The air is clean. My lawyer back home gave me an update yesterday. Because the amount was over a certain threshold and involved interstate wire fraud, the credit card servers were out of state, the prosecutor is looking at serious time. Sister is facing identity theft, wire fraud, and credit card fraud charges. Mom is facing conspiracy, extortion, and obstruction of justice for the false CPS report, which my lawyer proved came from her phone. Because I reported the fraud immediately and provided the police report, the new job's background check cleared me. I explained the situation to the vetting officer, and the documentation proved I was the victim, not the risk. They actually commended me for my detailed record keeping. Sister's ex-husband, the nephew's dad, caught wind of the arrests and the unstable living situation. He petitioned for emergency full custody. With Mom and Sister facing felonies and eviction, he got it. The boys are with him now. I sent him a private email offering to set up a trust for their education, strictly under his control, so my money never touches my sister's hands again. He accepted and thanked me profusely. Apparently they had tried to pull money from him, too. Mom and Sister are currently living in a cheap motel. They have public defenders. They tried to sue me for emotional distress and defamation, but no lawyer would take the case because truth is an absolute defense against defamation, and they have no money for a retainer. The banks are garnishing Mom's Social Security. Sister's coaching business collapsed because she's now a known fraudster. They wanted me to be their safety net. Instead, I became the one thing they never expected: a wall. I realized something looking at the mountains today. They didn't want a brother or a son. They wanted a host. And parasites don't survive when the host detaches. They wither. It hurts, I won't lie. I mourn the family I wished I had, but I sleep soundly for the first time in 10 years. My credit score is recovering. My bank account is mine. And when I buy a coffee here, I know exactly who is paying for it. If you enjoyed watching me incinerate my family tree to save my financial future, you might want to subscribe. I promise my next update won't involve felonies, just fondue.